But these kingdoms are fallen. They no longer rule this earth, okay? The so-called white man's in power right now, okay? You know, Rome Part 2. Okay? They're in the current power seat, but their kingdom is crumbling as you can see it. It's crumbling, and this war that they're going to get into, man, will be the end of them. Okay? This World War III will be the end of them. And Yahweh Shai is going to come and clean up, man. Okay, and establish the kingdom of heaven. Okay, so that's the prophecy. Okay, and you know these articles here, man, they just further edify what's going on out here, man. Okay, what according to prophecy, man, all these powers, man, they're all fighting against each other, man. They're not firm together. They're not in one mind, man. Okay, all this debating, man, all this let me get that actually. Councils. There's a scripture that goes along the lines of, you know, you weary yourself with counsels, man, for naught practically. And if I can put it up in post-production, I will, man. I can't remember how to write it on here, man, to find it. But you know, if I find it, I'll put it up in post-production. Okay, but basically, man, all this talking, man, ain't getting them nowhere, man, because they all have a different idea how to approach the problems that they're facing right now. Okay, mainly about Russia. Okay, so the EU leaders deeply divided over Russia. European elites who take pride in viewing the EU as a postmodern superpower have long argued that military hard power is illegitimate in the 21st century. Unfortunately for Europe, Russia, along with China and Iran, has not embraced the EU's fantastical soft power worldview, in which climate change is now said to pose the greatest threat to European security. Okay, which is a bunch of bullshit. Okay, but you know, they're talking soft power, man, but they hold the largest military in the world. You know? So for its part, the European Commission and the EU's administrative branch, which never misses an opportunity to boycott institutions in Israel, has issued only a standard statement on the shooting down of MH17 in Ukraine, which reads the European Union will continue to follow this issue very closely. The EU has made only half-hearted attempts to develop alternatives to its dependency on Russian oil and gas. Okay, so even though they're at loggerheads with Russia, man, they depend on Russia to a large extent with certain things. Okay, and it's detrimental to their economies. Because yeah, they could just go send missiles to Russia, man, but they risk being destroyed, man. Or they could put harder sanctions on Russia, but it will harm their economic growth. You know, they're at catch-22 with the situation like this, man. Because Russia's not a country that can easily be pushed over, man. Okay, and you rely on their oil and other resources. Okay, so it's a catch-22 for you. You can't go all out on Russia because either way, it's not going to be pretty. Okay. So the missile attack on Malaysian Airlines flight MH17 claimed the lives of 298 passengers, including 230 Europeans, making it the single most deadly act of terror in modern European history. But despite a growing body of evidence that the MH17 was shot down by a surface-to-air missile that was launched from an area that is controlled by Russian-backed separatists inside of Ukraine, the European Union's 28 member states have still been unable to agree on even a basic unified response to the attack. They don't know what to do. Some have got more to lose than others. Some nations are more involved with Russia, man, and can't really afford to fuck with Russia like that. Okay, so they don't really want it. Okay, So Western European countries including Britain, France, Germany, Italy and the Netherlands, all of which enjoy strong trade relations with Russia, have long been reluctant to antagonize Moscow, based largely on economic and energy supply considerations. Like I said, man, they're in fairly deep with Russia, man, and they can't really afford to fuck with Russia like that, because it's gonna harm them. Okay, regardless of how many or how big NATO is and how big their army is, man, they're gonna fuck themselves up regardless. Even if they believe they could take on Russia, man, it don't matter, because you got some of them saying that, you know, you need to go to war with Russia, man. But that's just an idiotic idea. I mean, that's what we would like to happen, but realistically, right now, these nations will be signing their own death wish, man. You know. But of course, that's what's going to happen eventually. It has to. It's prophecy. But at the current moment, man, they're stepping, man. They don't know what to do. They're in a situation where, you know, can we let Russia do what they're doing? Okay. Or can we afford to break ties and, you know, go to war and stuff like that, man? You know, these are some of the things they're asking themselves, man. And a lot of nations are feeling that they can't afford to do that. Okay, so NATO or Europe is not united. Okay, they're not united. And this is where, you know, splits and breaks, you know, or plans of splits and breaks are gonna fester, man. Okay, because you know, NATO's allies and, you know, US's allies, man, they're gonna start flipping sides and stuff, man. This is Matthew chapter 12, verse 25. And it says here, and Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? Okay, with all these members, you know, being divided, man, this shows you that their system, their society, their rulership is on its way out. Okay, because it can't stand. Okay, Russia is united, man. They follow their leader Putin. Okay, but you got all these separatists, like all these different nations with different leaders trying to coordinate themselves as one. Okay, but they're all in different minds. Okay, they can't stand, man. Okay. So by contrast, Eastern European countries such as Poland, Hungary, the Czech Republic and the Baltic states, all which experienced decades of misery under Soviet military domination, favour a far more aggressive EU policy regarding the Kremlin, which they view as possibly a potential existential threat. Okay, they want them to go to war with them, so, you know, they can get some sort of payback for, you know, shit they went through in the Soviet Union. Okay, that's fair enough, man. You know, but ultimately, man, these larger nations ain't gonna listen to you, man. They don't give a fuck about your history with Russia, man. They're only interested in their own gain or their own existence. Okay, they don't really give a fuck about you or the other nations in Europe or NATO, man. I don't care. Okay. Says few Europeans have had the courage to follow the lead of Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott, who was the first Western leader directly to confront Russian President Vladimir Putin over the MH17 disaster. Well, who the fuck's this guy anyway, man? Who the fuck's Australia, man? No one cares about what Australia's saying, man. He can say what he likes. Says by contrast, Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte, evidently fearful of angering Putin, has been walking on eggshells. If I bang my fist against the table now, then I reduce the chances of the Netherlands and all those who support us getting the facts on the table. Okay? Because Putin is not a guy you really want to piss off, man. The guy is a fucking general. You know, he is built for the war, man. He's ready to go to war with any nation. He don't care, man. Okay, he ain't soft. Putin is a hardened guy, man. Ex-KGB. Okay, he knows what it's about, man. Okay, and he ain't scared. You know, so yeah, he's in the right frame of mind, man. You don't want to piss off Putin, man. You can have it where you get X'd out, man. You don't care about destroying the Netherlands, man. Netherlands is a fucking tiny place, man, in Europe. Okay, Russia's got the fucking artillery just to blow that shit up, man. If it comes to when it comes to World War III, Slovakia, okay, because there ain't no if, it's when. Okay, when World War III kicks off, man, it wouldn't be nothing for Russia to destroy Netherlands forever. Okay, so his route has played down expectations that the Netherlands will support tougher EU economic sanctions against Russia or the Ukrainian separatists. Okay, you don't want to get involved, man. You don't want to say nothing. You don't want to voice his opinions, man. They're all scared, man, because anything turns shit for them, man. Every idle word, man, you know, they can get fucked up for it. So they're careful what they're saying. So in an interview with the New York Times, one of the main opposition leaders in the Netherlands, Alexander Pt2, said, "We are a small country, dependent on our exports, and unlike the United States, we cannot always react from our moral high grounds. Still, if it is proven that the Russians have their fingerprints on this horrible event, we cannot look in the other direction." Okay, but you're hoping they ain't involved, man. Russia is the third largest destination of Dutch exports outside Europe after the US and China. The Netherlands is also a key tax shelter for Russian billionaires. Okay, so they make a lot of money from the Russians, man. Can they afford to go to war or fuck up relations between them and Russia? No, not really. Okay, but this is what, you know, Daniel was describing, man. The tolls of miry clay and iron, man. You know, some are strong, some are weak, and the weaker nations can't deal with this, man. You know, they're broken. They're divided, man. So amid reports that some of the bodies were being looted or removed from the crash site, Root has stepped up his rhetoric on his Twitter feed. He wrote, "Shocked by images of totally disrespectful behaviour, downright disgusting. Absolutely urgent now is a rapid repatriation of victims." Okay. So arguably the most befuddled European response to the down of MH17 has come from German Chancellor Angela Merkel, who seemed oblivious to the scale of the disaster, which she told a group of 1,000 guests gathered in Berlin just hours after the attack to celebrate her 60th birthday. "You are living in happy times." According to those in attendance, Merkel's words fell flat. After Merkel was criticised for downplaying the crime, Merkel begrudgingly acknowledged that it is especially Russia's responsibility for what is going on in Ukraine right now. She added that the EU's response so far has been more than adequate with the sanctions that, you know, Russia are laughing at for the most part. Merkel has urged Putin to use his influence with pro-Russian separatists in Ukraine to facilitate an international investigation into what German Foreign Minister Frank-Walter Steinmeier has called an incident. Observers say Merkel, who was recently named the most powerful woman in the world, is afraid of Putin, who provides Germany with more than 1/3 of its gas imports. She has a reason to be scared, man. Okay. After another key individual involved in shaping Europe's response to Russia is Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi, whose country currently holds the EU's rotating presidency. Renzi has been keen to avoid alienating Russia, Italy's biggest supplier of natural gas. Renzi is also energetically pushing for his Foreign Minister Federica Mogherini to replace Catherine Ashton as the EU's new foreign policy chief. Mogherini, who has almost no foreign policy experience, is unabashedly pro-Russian. Her candidacy is being opposed by Poland and the Baltic countries, which believe Mogherini would be too accommodating toward the Kremlin. So you see how Science is divided, man. Okay. For its part, the European Commission